participants, welcome to our new webinar series called Student Talks. I'm thrilled to have you join us as we explore and celebrate the student experience at the German University of Digital Science. I'm very much looking forward to a lively and inspiring conversation today. Before we dive in, I would like to start with a short round of introductions, as always, for both the speakers and the participants. So it would be great if you could write in the chat where you're from and how you have heard about us. I am Nicoleta, and together with the Student Affairs Department, we support our students in their journey from the moment they start their application until they graduate. We are student focused and make sure that our students have a successful and an enriching experience at the German UDS. Today, it is a pleasure to introduce our speaker, Monchito Avila, who is currently pursuing the Master of Science in Applied AI at the German UDS. Monchito, I'd like to pass the word to you so you could briefly introduce yourself.
Good day, everyone. So it's 11 p.m. here in the Philippines. I am Monchito. I am an educator in the Philippines, and also I have a stint of working abroad in Cambodia. I was the head of teaching and learning for 3 years. And considering that Cambodia is a developing country, my task was in digital transformation. I introduced the learning management system and also a hybrid and flexible learning modality there. And yeah, so my interest lies in the intersection of education, business, and artificial intelligence. So that's the reason why I took the Master of Science in Applied Artificial Intelligence at the German University of Digital Science.
Thank you so much, Monchito, for taking the time for being with us here today. I'm so excited to dive into the conversation with you just right after I briefly share the agenda and speak a little bit about the German UDS. First, I'd like to give an overview of our agenda so everybody would know what to expect. So we would be speaking about the following topics as listed here, and of course the highlight would be the student storytelling segment. That's why we're here, and we really are very much looking forward to having an engaging conversation. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat and we will make sure to answer them in the Q&A section. So let's start by sharing that the German University of Digital Science is Germany's first fully digital university, dedicated to advancing education and research in digital science, bridging the gap between today's technological landscape and the skills necessary for tomorrow's workforce. Actually, before this webinar, Monchito and I were speaking about the importance of staying relevant in your career, of future-proofing your career, and the best way to do that is to always stay informed, to get yourself educated, to take some courses, and that's something that we will dive deep into this webinar today, discussing how do we stay relevant also, right? Like how do we get prepared for tomorrow's workforce? And as digitalization continues to redefine and change industries and societies, German UDS stands as a response to critical global needs. And in what sectors, right? Like in education, in technology, innovation, and professional development. And our accessible online study programs empower learners from different backgrounds. And you will see that throughout this webinar series that we have students from all over the world. And we empower them with high quality, scalable education in digital technologies. This commitment to accessible education allows students worldwide to gain essential skills to thrive in a digitalized world. So let's see how that looks in practice by hearing the experience of Monchito. Monchito, so you briefly introduce yourself, and if you could maybe share a little bit more about your background. If there is something you haven't shared yet, we're all ears to hear more.
Okay, so for my first bachelor's degree is in computer engineering. And then I took a another program, education units. So I became a teacher. Then I took a master's in education. So I in educational leadership and management. So after that, I took leadership roles in the middle management. But as we progressed in 2022, generative AI disrupted almost all industries, both positively and negatively. Then there are some rumors of, not rumors, even even I myself, I observed that I needed to upskill or reskill and or even future proof my career. So I thought of studying either data science or artificial intelligence. So that's why from a middle management position, so I'm now positioning myself to work on the intersection of AI, education, and business, because even education as a business itself is struggling. So that is my experience in Cambodia. So I needed to left to leave Cambodia to go back to the Philippines, and then to so that's why right now I'm taking this course as a, what do you call that, as something that could help widen my skill set and also contribute more to developing education through artificial intelligence. So I think that's the background, the more extensive background.
Thank you so much for sharing. If I could ask one more question here, how come you were so passionate about education? Like, what triggered this passion? Because it seems that you have wide experience with this, and you're also looking
Mhm.
how to stay, let's say, competitive in this area. Where does the passion come from?
So living in a developing country and also working in a developing country such as Cambodia. And for context, in the recent PISA, the PISA result,
Mm-hmm.
Cambodia and the Philippines are ranked at the bottom. So this is a reality that we need to face in these countries or in these regions. So even while working, I also saw the skill gap, okay, not just for students, but also for those who am I working with. So I want to leverage this opportunity being provided by such institutions like the German UDS of democratizing
Yeah.
the available knowledge and skills from highly developed countries to developing countries. And it, at some sort, it it terminated the barrier. So I have been applying for scholarship grants in the UK, but then again I needed to compete with a lot of applicants. And then I needed visa, and then I needed to leave my job. So those are the dilemmas. So with this opportunity, I was able to leverage the flexibility that's being provided. And artificial intelligence is one of the fastest growing and one of the emerging fields that I would say I would be able to leverage personally in my career and also in the education sector.
Thank you so much. This definitely, I can relate to this because I also have a background in education. And when you say about the fact that German UDS focuses on democratizing education, that's one of our mission statements, right? Because we want to make this
Mhm.
quality education accessible worldwide. And the fact that you are sharing basically the reasons what inspired you to choose an online university. So moving to the question number two is basically also something to interesting to tap on, right? Like you mentioned the visas and the whole just having to quit your job and
Yeah,
changing countries. That's something that seems that the modern learner is trying to avoid sometime, right? Because we're trying to find ways how we can balance everything out, right? Like how do we continue having a job and being responsible, let's say, with the family and other responsibilities
Mhm.
that we have, as well as wanting to upskill or reskill or gain a new degree because we want to stay competitive and stay a little bit more future oriented and be able to really ensure ourselves of having a good successful career. So
Mhm.
how did you know that this was the right fit for you, like a fully online university being the right fit for your needs right now?
Yeah, I already mentioned earlier about flexibility. So it was the main driver. Since I'm already working full time, I needed a high quality program. So Germany is already, it has already built its reputation in the technology field, similar with Japan. So I needed this quality program that would, it would not require me to relocate or pause my career. And after having seen the advertisement from the German UDS, I really, so I, that time my attention was really caught by this offering, and I thought that this is the right fit, okay? Especially that it also offers the applied AI program, which aligned perfectly with my professional goal of, again, integrating AI into education. And the online model was the only way that I could balance both.
How excellent.
Eh,
And I
Yeah.
love that you already shared that how you heard about us, because I was gonna ask like how did you hear about us? Because for our participants who don't know, Monchito is also part of the first batch of our students because our university is a brand new university. We had our first intake in April of 2025. So it's great to hear that you heard about us from ads. Is that right?
Yeah, in social media, because I just failed my application in the UK. Then I was thinking, oh, I need to apply in the next cohort. And then I suddenly saw this advertisement in social media about the German UDS. I was thinking during that time, is this the way of the universe for me
The
to have
sign.
this option? Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. And you mentioned, you thought that you needed to wait for a different intake. For those who do not know, we do have two intakes. So we have an
Mhm.
October intake and an April intake. And I'll give more details about that later on within the presentation. Mochito, before we move to the next question, is there anything else maybe you would like to add about the online university, the experience you're having, or anything here before we're moving forward?
I would like to add that with the flexibility, it's really a thing because what happened to me in July, I needed to go back to the Philippines because for some personal reasons. And then even in my situation right now, my mother is already old, so she needed someone to be with her day by every day. So having this opportunity to work because I'm also working online and then I'm studying online, so I can really take on the role of being a, co- a company to my mom, and then I'm studying and I'm also working. So again, I would like to highlight the flexibility that this particular model is giving to its student.
It's so interesting because the feedback you're sharing is very much what the research shows lately, that the modern
Mhm.
learner really appreciates the flexibility because we do have so many different tasks where like we wear different hats, right? We play different
Mhm.
roles. We have to work, we have to study sometime, we have family responsibilities, and online
Mhm.
education really offers this possibility. And I'm thinking a lot about the working professionals that want to upskill, and sometimes it just feels that the best option is to do online because you have this
Mhm.
flexibility. You can study early mornings or late nights in a coffee shop or at
Yeah.
home. And I think this really revolutionizes education at the same time because you just need to have a stable internet connection, and then you do have access to, let's say, the best professors, the best research, the best opportunities. And I'm happy that this has worked out so well for you, Monchito.
Yes, truly.
I would like to dive a little bit deeper into understanding how your typical study day looks like and how do you stay organized and motivated while studying online, because I feel like it's a challenge for a lot of people because some are highly organized, some are not, some need more structure,
Mhm.
some don't. And how is it for you?
Yeah, for me, it's not a big adjustment for me because given my previous experience in charge of digital transformation, I'm already working with educational technology and I'm also teaching our students about how to manage digital learning themselves. So I'm doing with the German UDS is to practice what I'm preaching. So I'm also relying heavily on my digital calendar, task list, blocking out my schedule, and then I have non-negotiable times for study. Usually from Monday to Thursday, I have this flexibility to watch the video lectures in the module because I'm also working online. I only need to conduct phys- conduct online synchronous classes on Fridays and Saturdays, so I can have the Monday to Thursday dedicated for study on
Mhm.
top of my other tasks for my job. Yeah,
And
and I'm also motivated. I'm motivated again because even in terms of for in terms of job security, so I need to have a new skill which will be my edge against my against my colleagues. So for example,
staying
if I'm an
competitive.
expert, yeah, I need to be competitive in the market.
Did you want to give an example and or did I interrupt you?
Uh, I think yeah, I just make sure to block out my schedule and then so from Monday to Thursday I would watch video lectures and then I do assignments. And then one good thing with the German UDS is the professors are experts. So I can ask questions, in-depth questions to them.
Thank you so much for sharing the tips and things that work for you. I also wanted to ask because you mentioned that you study online, that you work online.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel like you need to schedule in time actually to go for a walk or do things like that? Because I'm also working fully online, and sometimes
Mhm.
I catch myself that I've worked without having left the desk for a couple of hours, and then after work, I really feel it on my neck or my shoulders, like do you also experience that? Are you also thinking of mindful ways of staying fit in this kind of environment?
The good thing now that back in the Philippines, so I took the evenings, yeah, to
Oh,
be with friends and then go out, chill. Yeah. So
that's a
during the
good
day,
balance.
I that would be my time for work and study, and then in the evening, I take time to relax.
That's great to hear because
Yeah.
I find this balance so important because sometimes we think that our productivity is just like studying, 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 but we also need this good breaks in between to be able to socialize, connect with family and friends. And it's great that you are like having such a good thought through schedule because you know what days you're working, what days you're studying, the days to hang
Mm,
out or the evenings, and the fact that you're back in Philippines and back with your family and friends, and this opens
mm,
more opportunities to connect. You briefly mentioned right now about getting in-depth support or answers from professors. Maybe here you could also share how do you connect with classmates and professors because sometimes we have this idea that online learning is very much just watching videos or just reading texts.
yeah.
How has it been for you? How do you connect with faculty?
Yeah, I am proactive, so I make use of the platforms being provided. So we have Yellow Dig, and then we also have Zoom meeting links where we can connect with professors and also with group mates. So because the task, we are also being trained to work collaboratively in teams. So for example, my teammate, we use the common platform that we have. For example, we have WhatsApp, and then we also make use of MS Teams. But for weekly office hours, so our professors would allocate weekly office hours, but this is not required. So if you don't have a particular question to ask, so you can skip the virtual office hours via Zoom. But if you have in-depth questions, so you can take advantage of the office hours. So in this way, we are able to connect with professors, and professors also are considerate in terms of time zone, especially for me that I think I'm the only Asian in the cohort. But I have another Asian classmate, but she's in Germany. So in terms of time zone, I'm the only one far far east in the time zone. So I make use of email if it is not urgent. But then if it is urgent, so I would take advantage of the virtual office hours.
Thank you so much for sharing all the platforms and all the ways to connect. I also wanted to give a little bit of information for the participants. Like, although most of the program, let's say, is asynchronous, there are synchronous elements with live
Yeah.
sessions, as Monchito shared. And usually at the beginning, I would say the professor shares a poll to find out the time zones where you are, where like what are the best times that would work for everybody to meet. They also have this kind of office hours drop-in sessions for you to join and ask questions. We have a platform Elodig where it's very much for community building and engaging with students and professors as well. And there are, of course, also group projects where you need to work collaboratively. And I find it so fascinating when you have a chance to work on a project with people from all over the world, because the different perspectives, the different approaches always makes the learning experience so much more enriching. And also, let's say that if you're not a student yet, but you would like to connect
Mhm.
with our professors, that would be possible. And if you're interested, just let me know. Later on, I'll share my email address so you can just send a message and I could schedule a meeting with our professors if you'd like. I find it also very important to be able to speak with them and hear their experiences, because they're excellent professors, they're experts in their fields, and being able to learn from the best also gives you this.
Mm.
Do you want to add something, Monchito? Because you mentioned this previously about the fact that there's experts and they know what they're doing, they're
Yeah.
the top in their field.
Yeah. If I may add, I have this fun experience because I was thinking that German UDS is a bogus university when I first saw it in the advertisement. But during the Welcomes Week, we virtually met our professors. We even have our first professor who is from the Oxford University. And then he really worked extensively on mathematical AI and then statistical AI. And then we also have professors who are really from the industry. So I learned a lot in my complex problem solving course. And then even in the design thinking course, I learned from experts who are already working and advocating for design thinking for a quite number of years.
Thank you so much for sharing this, because we, as I mentioned earlier, we're thinking as a university, right? Like, how can we support students get skills for the tomorrow's workforce, basically, right? Like
Yeah.
being prepared and having professors who are experts in the field, who have extensive experience and networks is just so helpful. I also think to have a good start after graduation, right? Like being able to be really quite prepared and know what career path you'd like to go towards the end of your academic career here. And I have to say that we're really, as I mentioned, are student focused and are here to support you. And we do have
Mhm.
different services for that, like career services, and I'll share more towards the end as well. And of course, if you ever have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or ask them later in the Q&A. And with that being said, I would like to move to the next question and
Nicoleta,
yeah,
if I also may add,
yeah,
the
please.
diversity is not just in terms of distance geographically, but also in terms of background. So I have classmates who are medical doctor and then cybersecurity professionals. So it's really helped me to widen my perspective of, let's say, applications of AI, not just in the field of education, but it also in other sectors. And I have this very fruitful collaborations with having teammates from other backgrounds.
I find it so helpful that, because that's how you get towards creative thinking, design thinking, coming up with different
Yeah.
solutions. Because when you have in a batch of students, right? Like in an intake or in a class, people coming from such diverse backgrounds, right? And then, and you will meet in this webinar series different students from different countries with different backgrounds doing different
Yeah.
programs. And it's just so enriching, as you mentioned. And I also find that these are ways to build potential collaborations among students for
Yes.
the future upon graduation and collaborating later on as well and connecting. And the fact that it's so global, you have contacts all over the world and you don't
Yeah.
know where where the destiny might take you after that. So I very much value this community building, although it's online. Sometimes you might think that it might miss this connection, but as Monchito is sharing, there is this connection. It's possible
Mm.
to do it, and we definitely strive and learn ways to be more proactive in that, to provide more platforms, more support, because we do understand the value of connection, of community, even if it's online.
Yeah.
And now that we're speaking about highlights, right, like working with
Yeah.
great professors and connecting with people from all over the world, what have been the highlights of studying online for you with the German UDS?
The biggest highlight is the immediate real world application that we have, especially during the code camps and the first two two terms. And if I may recall my previous studies back when I was in college, I studied programming, but I struggled to complete an entire working project on my own. However, during the coding camps here at the German UDS, in a span of several weeks, I was already able to manage to finish several fully functional projects within a short time frame. And this was made possible thanks to the support and guidance from my Professor Staubitz, Tom, and the collaboration with my teammates. So yeah, I'm ready to the extent that I had a full overnight working in one project because I was really engaged in finishing the project. I didn't realize that it's already morning, and then
Wow,
the chicken already they're already awake. But I was very happy because I was able to complete the project within the very short time frame.
that's
I
so
think,
exciting.
yeah, because of the availability of the technology, with the support of my professor, and with the help of my teammates.
Well, I think when you work so focused and you do not notice the passing of time, that shows
Yeah,
so much passion. And I'm really excited that you were able to see this difference, right? Because sometimes, let's say, like coding camps are challenging, right? Like there's a lot happening there. And the fact that you felt like in such a short span of time, you were able to reach so much. That's actually making me very excited to hear that because I don't have this kind of background, right? I've studied
mm,
education and economics, and hearing this experience for you in comparison to what you had previously in a different institution really makes me happy to know that the courses we have are very much tailored to your needs and that actually you yourself as a student can feel the result and you're also advocating for that.
yeah. If I may add, Nicoleta,
Of
it
course.
seems like you're already studying, but you're on the job because
Wow,
it's a project-based learning. Yeah.
that's great to
So
hear.
we're already trained to be working in an agile environment,
And
which
that is,
is, I think, yeah, it's
no,
not
please
being
continue.
provided by most of the universities. Even my previous universities, we were not able to provide that, to offer that to our students.
And this comes as testimony also to the fact that we really try to think career oriented and to prepare our students for the future workforce to be prepared because also research shows that nowadays the modern learner focuses on the career outcomes. And I think it's a very
Yeah,
valuable point because when you invest in your studies, you invest money and time, you would want certain results upon graduation and you'd
yeah,
want to be competitive, and I'm very excited to hear that from you, that that's how your experience is at the German UDS.
yeah. We are even given the opportunity to work with a real project for a real company. Yeah,
So the
even my
case
classmate
study.
was being awarded by the company for working on that particular task.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. I think it's really valuable to know that you work on a real world scenarios and that companies
Yes.
put forward this kind of cases when where you get to work either like independently or with your colleagues and have this kind of projects. Because I think with education, as mentioned, if it does not connect to a real problem or the real environment, it feels that there is such a big disconnect. And we want to
Yeah.
have this connection, we want to make it integrated, because when you start, I've always felt like when it's applied, right? When
Mhm.
you study something and you can apply it, it just changes the game. It makes the difference.
Yeah. And also in terms of engagement.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's either we work for a real company or we work on our real problems in our own companies.
Yeah.
So that's what we have been offered to do.
Excellent. And if somebody would consider online education for the first time, because I also gonna imagine that there is a lot of reticence, people being a little
Mhm.
bit more cautious. What advice would you give someone considering online education?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a very important question. First, you need to be realistic about the time commitment and you need to be disciplined. Maybe for me, I'm lucky because I'm already working in a digital environment as also digital learning as a teacher. So you need to be your own manager and scheduler. So in terms of scheduling your time for study and work, and then you need also to be flexible because, for example, if you're already working in projects, in my case, I really need to adjust in terms of time commitment. So I would work also late nights because most of my teammates are in the other part of the world in terms of time zone. And you need to be not a passive learner. Your The platform will give you all the opportunity to learn. So you can have the video lectures, which are already comprehensive. Then you also will be provided with the materials, and you also will be provided with synchronous opportunity to meet your lecturers. So you need to take advantage of those. And you also need to be engaged. So for me, because I really am passionate about improving the quality of education in my own country, so this is one of my motivations. And what I mean is your engagement is what will help you transform a remote experience into a collaborative one. So if you have questions, you need to ask and you need to network with your classmates and also with your professors and take advantage of the services that is being provided. Like for us, we have the study affairs led by Nicoleta. So they're very hands-on with providing us support.
Thank you so much, Monchito, for sharing these tips. I think I would just want to echo all the points you mentioned, because also with the flexibility that online education gives, I think it's also important to stay organized, to also make sure that you own your agenda, that you know your schedule. You earlier on, I loved when you mentioned that, like you booked in your schedule specific time for specific tasks. I find that to be very useful even for me, because I'm not studying online, but I'm working online and having specific tips and tricks that how I can stay organized and manage work. It's the same, I would say, with studies, and also being
Mhm.
able to be proactive and take the best of it, because the resources are there, right? Like up till this point in this webinar, you got to see and hear about like so many different platforms that we offer, different support, connecting with professors, with students, and it's also a matter how you take this to the next level, because the study affairs team is here. We are here to support you. We have academic services, career services. We support you with the registration process, like course registration, everything like that. And
Mhm.
we're really very proactive, but at the same time, I love what Monchito said, that you need to basically also take initiative and take the best of the courses and all the features that are provided.
Nicolette, if I also may add,
Yes.
one advice from my professor is to communicate and communicate early as possible. Yeah, because again, for German UDS, we have a quarter system, 4 quarters in a term. The 8 weeks or 12 weeks would fly very fast if you don't communicate instantly or at once. If you have concerns, then con- it may you may reach a point wherein you cannot remedy the situation anymore. So you need to communicate and communicate as early as possible, because all the professors, if I may share, based on my experience, they are very supportive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're here to help you because for us, as I mentioned very early on in this webinar, we're here to make sure you have an enriching and successful experience. And that definitely connects to the ability to communicate, to be proactive, and to let us know how we can support you best. And we are trying to be really very much hands-on and like really listen to the feedback we receive. And I can share a small example. For this summer, I've been receiving from applicants this query, like question and like tips where like they're trying to figure out like is there the possibility, for example, to pay in installments instead of like making the
Yeah.
payment annually. And up till September we did not have that, but we collected that and
Mhm.
we turned it into decision making process, and then we were able now from September 1st to offer the payment option not only annually but on a quarter base. So things like this only happen when we do get this kind of feedback. So early on, when you share what's working or what's not working, we're able to make different changes for you and staying agile and pivot quickly, because our goal is to make sure you have a successful experience. But by the time you finish your education, you know that you have received exactly what you need. And since we're moving about towards this topic, Monchito, tell us, what are your plans or aspirations after completing your studies at the German UDS?
Yeah, so I think I'm very ambitious because my plan is to directly apply this degree in MSc Applied AI to my mission of, again, integrating artificial intelligence driven personalized learning. Because
Excellent.
as I have shared with my teammate, so because I'm a fan of Harry Potter, so I want a digital sorting hat, because even for me at this age, I really am still struggling er, in the recent years on what really to pursue given all the disruption of
Yeah.
in terms of technology, a volatile environment. So I want to promote personalized learning into educational systems, starting in my own country, the Philippines, and extending to Cambodia, where I also seen the issues that they're facing in terms of education. And again, my ultimate goal is to leverage AI to create more effective, accessible, and equitable digital learning solutions to help bridge the skills gap in my region, in the ASEAN region, and also extending to the global south.
Excellent. I love his aspirations, and we will be rooting for you and we'll be hoping for your success, Monchito. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience with us. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. And I would like to turn the microphone to the audience to see if there are any questions. So far, I don't see any questions sent into the chat. I'll just give the audience a bit of time. And in the meantime, I will ask some questions that have been already pre-submitted. Um, can you combine work and study, Monchito?
I just a little background for me. Because even during college, I was also a working student. Maybe that is, I think, one context. That's why studying and working for me is not a big adjustment anymore, because I've been on that position when I was in college. Especially now, it's very doable with the advancement in technology, with the help of digital tools. It's very achievable.
And here, if I also may add, is that most of our students actually do study and work. So they are working professionals. With our study model being so flexible, it makes it possible. So you definitely can work and study while you study at the German UDS. And
Nicoleta,
yeah, yeah, please.
if I also may share, I have classmates who are also working moms.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and then they really are able to juggle studies, work, plus being a mom or a parent.
I have to say that I always admire that. And actually, dear participants, you will get to meet some of them in our
Mhm.
next webinar series, so stay tuned. And I would say online education does make it possible because you do have this flexibility that you, Monchito, mentioned earlier on, to be able to combine different aspects of your life. And you mentioned a little bit about like how the study days looks like for you. Do you have a roughly estimate like what is your weekly time commitment for your studies? Like how are you managing it? Do you feel like is it too much? Is it doable for you? How do you balance it right now?
2 to 3 hours in the evening. But then again, during project weeks, I adopt the hackathon model wherein you dedicate, let's say, a whole day to hack the project so that you can, it's really agile. Agile. So you from conceptualization to trying out, trial and error, and then come up with a solution, then try again until you are able to meet the requirement. So I think also given the available AI tools now is really helpful. So 2 to 3 hour commitment for me in the evening, and then I during project weeks. So I would dedicate I think 1 day for each subject.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I see no further questions in the chat. And with that, I wanted to ask Monchito, is there anything else you'd like to share? Maybe any topics we haven't touched upon, but you'd like to share? I think that would be the moment.
Yeah. I think aside from the highlights I shared earlier, so for the German UDS, one of the mandatory courses are complex problem solving and design thinking. So these two courses are very essential, I think, in our time today, because even for me, I have not been taught explicitly about complex problem, but I am expected to solve complex problems. And then with design thinking, I believe that this is a very helpful technique, not just in an organizational context, but even in a personal context, we can apply design thinking and how we should be able to approach solving complex problems. So the German UDS, I think the curriculum is well thought out. Plus, it's very open and empathetic. They are also walking their talk, or they are doing what they're preaching. So we are being taught of design thinking, and they also apply this in the organization. So yeah, even for hearing out the student concerns, so they really value student feedback. So that's why they continue to evolve, even at an early age, they're already very considerate of student feedback. And this is one part of, I think, design thinking, that we are able to empathize, okay, to our users, to our clients.
Excellent. What I wanted also here to add with complex problem solving and design thinking, I find it so interesting because you can apply that to any area of your life. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
only, let's say, applied AI. It's just so many different other fields, right? The concepts behind it is teaching you critical thinking. And
Yeah.
Monchito, thank you so much for sharing. In the meantime, we actually got some more questions. So the first one is, do you get support during practical labs or projects?
Yeah. So for the first two terms, you will have code comps. Coding comp one is Python, and then coding comp two is interactivity. So yeah, even as I related already earlier, even in the span of, let's say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you already be able to come up with the functional projects. In terms of lab, I don't know with the, because I'm taking applied AI, so we are using available platforms online. I don't know with the cybersecurity if they have lab. Yeah, but again, in terms of support, the program in charge is very supportive.
Thank you so much for adding this. Also, the question came from a participant who I believe joined a little bit later, and I wanted to just re-emphasize some information that was shared earlier. Anytime you have any, let's say, challenges or you need any support, our professors are there. There are weekly sessions where, Monchito, correct me if I'm wrong, is it weekly sessions that you have with the professors, right?
Yeah, weekly session. So you can
Yeah.
ask, for example, if you're stuck in a machine learning project, you can have a one-to-one session with the professor. Yeah, and the
So
professors are experts.
exactly, and you do get the support from the professors. Sometimes also there are
Mhm.
group projects that you're working on, so you're working with classmates from all over the world, so you collaborate
Mhm.
together and you can get to come up with solutions together. But as mentioned earlier, professors do support you, and they also, in addition to this live weekly sessions, they also have office hours that you could stop by
Yeah,
and ask any questions you may have. Um, Also, you mentioned already the machine learning project. The question is, how do you get support when you're stuck on a machine learning project? And I think this connects very
yeah,
well with what we just mentioned. And Mochito, if you want to add anything else here, just let me know. It will be the same, right? Like the professor would
yeah. The
support
same.
you, so it would be exactly the same. There
So
is
you can join the weekly office hour, or you can schedule a one-to-one, more in-depth consultation with the professor.
Thank you so much for the questions. There is one more. What examination formats are used in the MSc in Applied Artificial Intelligence, such as written exams, project-based assessments, or oral exams?
Yeah, it's more on project-based assessments. So you will be assigned tasks to do a project. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then for coding comps, aside from the working project that you need to deliver, you also need to have presentations.
Are there any other questions? I think we answered all of them that were in the Q&A. I'll just briefly double check. Yes. All right. With that, I would like to thank you, Monchito, so much for taking the time to share your experience with us. It's been really a pleasure speaking with you.
The pleasure is mine, Nicoleta.
And
And
if
thank you for our attendees.
Thank you so much. Oh, one more question before.
Yeah.
Is there a mentorship program where students are paired with AI professionals from European tech companies? Do you have any information on this, Monchit, or can I take over?
Our program coordinator for artificial intelligence already shared to us, because next term we'll have the group challenge. So yeah, so you will be partnering with tech companies, especially in Germany.
Thank you so much for responding to the question. I also wanted to say that generally, not only to the MSc of Applied AI, but generally as a UDS. So we do have career weeks, and this is also the
Mhm.
possibility basically for students, our enrolled students, to come to Germany and do an internship, for example, at the German company. So this kind of career weeks are offered 2 to 3 times a year, and you actually can come to Germany, come on campus. There would be, in addition to this internship aspect, also different networking events. So
Mhm.
yeah, stay tuned for more information regarding to that. But we're thinking of different ways to support you to have connections in the industries, to have experience via internships, for example, and of course, working projects as part of your course. Thank you for the question. All right. With that being said, I also wanted to share additional information from the university. So, if you think online education is a great fit for you as well after having had this conversation, then I would like to encourage you to apply to our programs. So, I'm happy to share that we have a very easy and smooth application process for all of our programs. If you were to scan this QR code, it would take you directly to the application portal, where you will also have an application tutorial video to guide you through the application process. So it's very very simple. You basically create an account and submit the necessary documents as shared here. For example, we need proof of identity, university diploma and transcript, motivation letter, CV, and English language proficiency. We are a very agile and university and strive to provide an admission decision within 1 week. So it is worthwhile mentioning one more time that we have two intakes, so April and October, and the application process for the April intake is ongoing and you can already submit your application. I would like to emphasize that the fees include full access to learning materials, platforms, and academic support, and of course, the possibility to extend your studies free of charge. We are here to help you succeed. We're here to help you find answers to any questions you may have, and you can always reach out to us at the email addresses shared here. So I mentioned earlier on that you can reach out to us. We're here to support you. So here you have two email addresses that you can reach out to us. And with that being said, dear Monchito, thank you one more time for sharing your story. We appreciate your time and support. It's been so nice speaking with you. And dear participants, thank you for your time and contribution to this webinar. For any questions, feel free to reach out, be it via the website, social media, or email. We look forward to hopefully welcoming you soon as a German UDS student. Thank you so much for taking the time today.